Alright, several months ago we put a new toilet bowl gasket, wax, and flange on this toilet. I struggled tremendously getting the bolts lined up without slipping loose because the flange here had been turning inside. So when you slide the bolts down the slots, they simply turned it. And each time you tightened them, the bolt came back out through the insertion slot. I also discovered that this was bent tremendously. It wasn't lining up, so I took it out to the shop and I took a hammer to it, straightened it out. Now when I get back in here, I find that this flange will not seal to the cast iron pipe in the floor. Corrosion set in. It's time to take a serious look at this corrosion. It keeps it from sealing. And the toilet, because this won't seat in there, is loose. The toilet teeter's here. It's bolted to here, so this has to be secured in deep into the pipe. I put a rag in there to keep all this trash from going down the drain. I'm going to take the chisel. Firstly, get the loose stuff off. I know that my flange needs to seat at least an inch and a quarter into the pipe. And I've got a ridge built up around here, just keeping it from driving into the cast iron pipe. Now, apparently these bolts have been replaced several times because I found a set of bolts down in the bottom here. It's a very poor plumbing finishing job here. You got to deal with what you got. Let's see if we can get this flange tightened up enough. We do make a replacement flange. It's an expansion flange. I don't own this property, so I just want to keep the toilet in a serviceable condition. Another problem we've had here, this home has a problem with the air vent tied into the plumbing from the drains. And it appears that enough trash has eventually gone down these drains and the water is backed up far enough to equalize with the height of the air vent. Now what happens is the air vent is clogged up. It slows down the amount of gravity pressure to allow the drain to flush. This causes constant plunging in both the bathroom sink and the bathroom toilet. And this is a result of constant plunging. Every time it happens, you're blowing out your wax ring that fits on the base of the toilet. It seals here, and eventually you've got problems. After cleaning this surface, while I was out in the shop, I also cleaned off a lot of this, but it could use a little more. It's in rough shape. This is how to do it. Now here's the problem we had. These slots not lining up evenly. So we're going to make sure that there's a horizontal. We know that the toilet holes are left and right. We want to be able to get them right here. So we're going to keep this lined up. Pay attention to this because it can move until this is down tight to the floor. Alright. Now, if this is higher than the toilet, than the floor, we'll raise the toilet. When it's sitting on the toilet, you'll break it loose. It's got to be below the floor. Appreciate this one. Doesn't want to go down anymore. You don't want to break it. Trying to be as gentle as possible. Sometimes it helps to put a towel on it, but it's hard to see. Keep working it. Be persistent. Well, definitely belligerent. Definitely needs a little more cleaning. actually found a whole set of bolts. We replaced them. Well, we took our bolts out. And found somebody else's bolts. Careful in these holes like this. This is an opening hole. That's rebar. It'll hurt you. And because of the sewage, waste, if you get poked by it, you definitely need to get tetanus. Maybe a few others. Alright. It's getting smoother. So close now. We're getting real close. Real close. Now, what I'm going to do is get a piece of wood. And we'll just cover that hole so I can tap slightly on the entire fit. Give me an even striking force over the entire surface. Number one, to make sure it's flat. Two, to make sure it is almost there. We're even with the floor. This is a blow hammer. It's trying to rise on me. Going to be tight. If we get it in there, it's going to seal. If we get it in there. Got to get in there so that it holds the toilet down. Helper is at school today. But I'm kind of glad he didn't get involved because this turned out to be far more intensive than I ever thought. ring back up. If this ring will snap up without the ring coming loose, we'll have a better shot. This assures me. Oh, it broke my board. Somebody is really rough with it. That's as tight as it's going to get. This is going to be a challenge, but once we get these bolts in, it'll pull this up. We start tightening them. And for the third time, well, more than that. I mean, took me 3 attempts to get the toilet in the first time back in December to get them to hook. Because every time I tightened them up, this was turned this way. And lining up the toilet, pop the bolts back out of these holes. It wasn't until I took it back off. I got it secured. It lasted only about 3 or 4 months. Once you got a problem like this, it's just going to get bigger and bigger until you fix it the correct way. What we have to make sure of now is that these are high enough to get the bolts in. And the bolts are still in the toilet because they popped right out of the holes this last time. So I'll remove the bolts from the toilet. I also want to inspect my wax ring, make sure I didn't mess up that brand new wax ring. Second bolt. That's what you want to be careful of. Don't drop them down the containers in place. I'm really not liking the way this left side looks. Let me give them one last shot. We gotta go with that. Alright, now, last thing is to make sure that this is straight. So when it pulls up, this is all wax in here, which I'm going to leave it. Can't have too much wax to seal. But you can have too much wax being in the way, pushing your bolts out of the way. These bolts are 2/3 of most people's problems. Screwdriver, I'm going to come from this line, mark my distance to the bolt, now come to this line, mark my distance to the bolt, I know that I'm square with this line and this line is square with the wall. Alright, ready to set this toilet the 5th time. Just as soon as I clean my floor for the 7th time. We'll be back.